It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley and I'm Gary McNamara. You think about it, how many different things? I mean, the news cycle moves so quickly where, you think about it like the whole border czar. That thing went on for a couple of days and it disappears when they get blasted for it.
Yeah.
They can't win the argument. And so, boom, it moves on. The other one was, and Buttigieg hit this and others did on social media, I believe it was Friday. Trump is afraid to debate.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris, he dropped out of the debate with Kamala Harris. And it was like, what? And I think he started out with something like he asked a question. Or it was like, who was the only president to ever withdraw from a debate? And then he put Trump. It was like, no, Biden.
Biden quit the whole thing.
Biden quit. It just blasted him on it. And expect this every single day. And I think part of the reason they do that is to throw Republicans off. Have Republicans vote. Well, that's just so ridiculous. Just go, another lie, another lie. Border and inflation and in crime.
Mm-hmm.
Border, inflation, crime. Excuse me. Inflation, economy, border, and crime. Inflation, economy, border, and crime. Any question that they ask you, if you don't go on friendly media, any question they ask you to deflect, you simply say you're trying to deflect from the issues out there. We understand because we saw you flip-flop. You do opposition research, not just on the politicians. You do Republicans, please listen up here. You do opposition research on every single mainstream anchor who may want an interview with you.
Yep.
And you find out what they were saying about Biden and what they were saying about Kamala Harris. And when they bring up those things in order to try to distract you, you bring it up and you throw it right back in their face.
Yep.
And the talking points, just like Pete Ducey, remember, had the talking points that everybody in the press had?
Yeah.
She goes, these are all the talking points here, whatever. You do the exact same thing. Every single politician, every congressperson, every Senate candidate, anybody from your administration walks in knowing what that national anchor has said before on Biden and Harris. You go after them. When they come after you, you go after them and go, well, look, I understand why you're trying to change the subject and put on something that was taken out of context because my full text is already known. But the fact is you're bringing it up in order to hide the fact that you said back on, whatever, June 24th, Harris is the worst. Last week you said Harris is the best. You are a political activist. You're not a journalist. I'll come on with you, but I'm not going to treat you like a journalist. You are opposition to me, and we're going to have this type of debate back and forth because you actually want to debate me. You just don't want to ask me questions, and so I'll grant you that wish. And you do that because you have to realize from now until November, they're going to do anything possible to distract Republicans from talking about inflation, the economy, the border, the crime, the anti-Semitism, the racism of the Democratic Party. And you throw it right back in your face. It's not that hard. I have no papers in front of me. I laid it out right there. That's all you have to do. Be prepared and know. Have the opposition research on the national anchors and what they have said before, what they said a month ago about Biden, what they're saying now about Biden, what they said a month ago and 6 months ago and a year ago about Harris, and what they're saying now. You can defeat this if you organize your thoughts, Republicans.
Well, it's so simple. It was so interesting watching the turn because it was this huge, massive turn. I mean, if the captain of the Titanic could have taken such a turn in such a short period of time, it would save some lives.
Leonardo would be alive today.
He wouldn't have had to worry about getting on that raft with her. There would have been plenty of room on the boat. And this is the problem that I think that we have is that there are millions of people that aren't paying attention. They don't know about the turn. They don't know about the before and after, and they have to be reminded, which is why you have to say it. Yeah, you sound like Captain Obvious when you're pointing to things that are obvious, and even the reality that people are going through, including inflation, including the broken border, including the promotion of the anti-Semitism that is very much alive and is part, a very now big part, embedded completely in the Democratic Party. This is exactly what we talk about, when we say, well, you got to repeat it until you're blue in the face. You have to repeat it over and over again, and you sound like Captain Obvious, but it doesn't matter. You have to, because you're trying to reach the people that aren't paying as close attention.
You and I have talked about this before. At times we feel like, boy, we're repeating the same thing over and over again, but the reason we do it is because it's the same argument to them repeating the same lie over and over and over again.
Yep.
So it's the only choice you have, because the only thing you wish to accomplish as a politician right now, as a Republican politician, is to win every argument.
Yeah.
And some you dismiss, and you say, look, we've discussed that. If it was J.D. Vance, we've discussed that. It's the importance of having kids and how important it is to the economy and our future. We've based tax policy on having kids for the over a century here in the United States. But we've discussed this, and we know you're trying to detract from talking about the things that Americans really are concerned about, and that is inflation, the border, the economy, crime, and that's what you do. You deflect constantly. But I think what amazes a lot of Republicans and conservatives in the last week is how blunt the lies were. The gaslighting, on the border czar thing. To even bring that up and wanting to argue that shows the desperation, but it also shows the confidence that Democrats believe they have. If they believe that they have successfully completed the lie across the board about Biden, that America has accepted. Remember, Americans still don't know why Biden's out of office, or why Biden has, not out of office, but why Biden isn't running. The majority don't know. He still hasn't told anyone.
Right.
And we know that the mainstream media and all Democrats around Biden were lying. Were lying then, they were lying a week ago, and they're lying now.
Yeah.
And we all know it.
Yeah.
And you've got to call them on it. But when they try to rewrite history with Kamala Harris, oh, she wasn't a border czar. She wasn't a border czar. And then, thank goodness for, X, because there's all the fact checks. But then when Buttigieg tried to come out and say, because that started, it lasted a couple of hours. What a coward that Trump is. He won't debate Harris because he put out the letter. Well, we're not going to, he said, I want to debate her at least twice. I think that's what he said, or multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
He said, but we're going to wait until we know who the candidate is. We don't know who the candidate is. And they go, he's a coward. He won't debate Harris. He's dropped out of the debate. What are you talking about? There was no debate scheduled between them. Well, but there was with Biden. Biden isn't Harris, and she doesn't have the vote. He had the votes. She doesn't have them yet. We'll wait till we get it. Mary Catherine Ham on X. It's strange to me how many think a woman can't or shouldn't negotiate the terms of her own debate now that she has formed a new campaign instead of inheriting them from a man who negotiated them so badly.
That's exactly what I thought.
Let me read it again because I have to emphasize. It's strange to me how many think a woman can't or shouldn't negotiate the terms of her own debate now that she has formed a new campaign instead of inheriting them from a man who negotiated them so badly he had his ass handed to him by Trump and had to withdraw from the race.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And because that's what I thought. I thought, look at all these chauvinists. My gosh.
Right.
But, of course, if you're on the left, then you don't care anything about women. Of course, the man has the last say so. because the man says so.
Just like in sports,
Yep.
the man should control
That's right.
the woman presidential candidate.
Yep.
Who is the man that's controlling her? Democrats, we know you're a bunch of misogynists. Who is the man that's controlling her?
Right.
And by the way, can you define what a woman is? You say she's a woman candidate. What is a woman?
Right. Oh my gosh. I said years ago, the left often acts as if the internet doesn't exist. The whole turn on the border czar thing with the media. Well, no, she's not a border czar. No, it's not. Hey, you were the guys just a couple of days ago. It wasn't that long ago using the words border czar.
Well, we were wrong for all those years until yesterday, and now that you're continuing it a day longer than we did, you're more wrong than we are.
Yeah.
Because we now are apologizing for doing it.
Uh-huh.
Shut up.
Yeah, right. And also acting as if they were chanting her name all along for her to be the nominee. And this is what you're seeing. It is this delusional, you know what it feels like? It feels like the liberal media was drunk all during the Biden administration years up until the time that Biden dropped out. And they were told, hey, you can't start the day by drinking anymore. You've actually got to be sober and go cover Kamala Harris. And then they all went to work going, yeah, we didn't mean the whole border czar thing. No, she's the one. Yeah, she's definitely the one. This is how it was always going to play out because they couldn't leapfrog over her, and they knew that Biden couldn't continue campaigning. So when the end was getting close, there was no way that it was going to end up where we are now. And so they're creating this thing. You know, it's like watching sometimes like an animation show for kids. Like one that they put on the, cable channels and they try and tell you it's educational, right? And they're just speaking it's really weird tones and the whole thing. And you're thinking to yourself, well, no, that's exactly how they think. Their children. They're pretending like something that isn't real is real. And they did this on a dime. They turned. Take all of his money away. Take his war chest out of it. See how much she could raise and give her a whole year to raise it. It wouldn't be anywhere close. And that's the reason she dropped out December 3rd, 2019. She was out of money. Say what you will about the grassroots fundraising from last year or from last week, but how much of that was on the sidelines, ready to go to Democrats anyway, if not for Joe Biden? It wasn't for Kamala Harris.
866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
If you are a farmer or any kind of outdoor worker, this week you may be running into heat that is a lot more intense than anything you may have encountered before. And some of your best friends in that case?
Rest, water, and shade.
Especially water. Ohio State University Health and Safety Professor Dee Jepson says drink at least 1 cup of water every 20 minutes.
A lot of times people think, I don't want to drink that much, I'll be sick. If you're really out working in this heat, every 20 minutes, drink a cup of water. You'll feel much better.
Also, wear the lightest, loosest fitting, light-colored clothes you can get away with. And finally, here's one more clothing suggestion.
Throw away that beloved ball cap.
Instead, she says, wear hats with at least a 3-inch brim all the way around them.
They block the UV exposure from your face, the top of your ears, the back of your necks. 80% of our skin cancer comes from that part of our bodies.
And wide brim hats help keep you cooler as well. Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Got a message from one of our great listeners out there that said the Democrats are lying so much that the public will eventually believe that both sides are lying. No. Here's where it's different right now. The lies that the Democrats are telling are self-evident. People can make the judgment for themselves.
Yeah.
The border is secure. Well, everyone knows the border isn't secure, hasn't been secure. When they said that and Republicans said the border is not secure, people believe the Republicans. Why? They saw the evidence. On the radical transgender movement, a man can be a woman, a biological woman, if the man says so. Because that's the argument now, which is why they say men should be able to play against women in sports because they're all women. Republicans can say, no, that isn't true. We have compassion for any demographic that the Democrats have informed us that the research shows their suicide rate is way higher than normal. And so we have compassion and we believe research should be done as to how to prevent that, but it does not make that man a biological woman.
Right.
And they should not compete. It is unfair for them to compete against women. You win that one. Inflation is transparent and not a problem. Do I have to even explain that one?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. These are things that every single day they can't, because they can't argue reality anymore. They can't defend themselves against reality anymore. They used to debate in the abstract. This will happen if we do this.
Right.
It's already happening every day, and people already see it.
Right. Defund the police works. Well, we could have unarmed social workers going in to domestic. Remember that discussion?
Right.
And we're like, that's insane.
Social workers.
Nobody's talking about unarmed social workers walking up to the door first when domestic violence is being reported, are they?
Nope.
Because no one wants to walk into what could be an extremely dangerous situation. But that's the difference now. We used to debate and argue the abstract. Now all these issues that were hypothetical are no longer hypothetical. They've all been tried, and they've come up against the wall of reality, which is why we've said the Democrats' biggest opponent is not Republicans, it's reality. Yep. All Republicans have to do is state reality.
Yep. Point to the reality that people experience every single day. And it sounds like you shouldn't have to. And for many, you don't. But you have to point, and you have to tell them and remind them how we got here. And the fact that it is a choice. All these things can be changed. And we have to elect people that are going to change it. It's that simple.
You know, it's like on the two stupid things last week with the border czar and Trump is a coward not to debate. He pulled out of the debate. I mean, they were so easy to win. And the Democrats are lining these things up multiple times a week that you can destroy them.
Yep.
With the truth.
Yep.
Do it.
Setting the standard for America. Eric Harley and Gary McNamara. on Red Eye Radio.
Oh, my. We were just being sarcastic, and when we got sarcastic, I just, Eric, I went, oh, I haven't looked at the Babylon Bee in a couple of days, and it's some of the headlines. CNN awarded Pulitzer for outstanding achievement in deleting old stories about Kamala Harris.
They should get an award for that.
Yes. Viewer advisory added to Fiddler on the Roof due to intense pitched roof scene.
Yeah.
Sodom and Gomorrah set to host the 2028 Olympics. Oh, my God. Kamala Harris secures liberal white woman vote by always being drunk and intolerable.
Whoa. Wow.
FBI director suggests Trump's ear just spontaneously exploded. Oh,
yeah, exactly. We don't know that he was actually even hit. We don't think he was injured. Yeah.
Oh
my gosh.
Man. Oh.
Yeah.
This, by the way, this is where the Babylon Bee is no longer parody. Media warned that community notes on X make it harder for them to lie.
No, that's the truth.
That's
the truth. It is absolutely the truth. We've been saying it for years. We basically said the internet, they act as if the internet didn't even exist and doesn't. But when you have no self-awareness, of course that's how you're going to act. All these things that they've tried to throw out over the last week that go nowhere fast. And it comes down to this. Kamala Harris has an empty campaign because she's an empty candidate. She hasn't earned it. There was no calling for Kamala to run. In fact, it was the opposite. Going back to early December of 2019, she dropped out before Iowa. And there's no calling for her to run now. There wasn't. And there's not going to be. Yeah, they're going to do the chants. Yeah, they're going to do the applause. And they're going to tape it up and make it look as good as they can. But she's not the one they wanted.
I said this last week, and one of the things, they do polls, but I don't think they do specific enough polls. I just find looking at society, sociology here, that, and I had a conversation with a couple of my conservative friends, that everybody we know on Facebook and X, most of them on Facebook that are still there, that used to comment on everything Obama did and Trump did in the first term are completely quiet.
Yeah.
You don't hear Democrats, the rank and file voter, debating the issues. You don't hear it anymore.
Right.
You don't see it anymore. You've got the propaganda coming from the party. You've got the talking points coming from the party. Once in a while on social media, you'll see somebody using a talking point. But Democrats do not get involved in the minutia or the specifics of debating anymore on any issue.
No.
And I find that interesting and wonder, where that's going, because if you have a party that doesn't even know where their own party is going, but they're sticking with it because of loyalty, how long can that last? It's the same thing that we've said about the Democratic Party and the problem that they have. And I see that somebody on X or Twitter, because I've said this many times before, they just happened to hear it last week, where you and I have talked about this before, that a political party has to attempt to unite. And you see that happening with the Republican Party. And what are they uniting on? The issues. We have these shared values, and we have these, we stand the same way on these particular issues. And I've said this before. The overall umbrella of what we all believe, everybody listening to the show right now, you and I, is the Constitution. We agree with we believe in freedom of speech. We actually want it. One of the first things that you had when Trump was speaking at the convention, then he and J.D. Vance afterwards in an interview, we don't want to censor. We don't want to censor anybody. We don't want to censor the other side because they know that the other side does want to do that. They don't actually believe in the First Amendment.
Right.
They don't believe in freedom of speech. They don't believe in freedom of religion. They don't believe in the Second Amendment. They don't believe in the separation of powers. You're going to see that this week where they try to actually make their goal would be to make the Supreme Court not a separate branch of government anymore.
Right.
That it would be always susceptible to Congress changing it if Congress didn't like what the Supreme Court was doing, even if the Supreme Court is doing what their job is, which is interpreting the Constitution, not making law. They want the Supreme Court from the left to make law. Everybody knows it. Every Democrat listening right now knows it.
Yeah.
They know it.
Right.
That's what Democrats want. Sotomayor got caught saying it in the hot mic one time.
Yep.
Oh, we're not supposed to say it, but, well, you just did.
Yeah.
And so we all know that's what they want. Where we disagree is how to get there. That's where Republicans have disagreements. So Republicans are always talking about the minutia and the specifics of the issues. One of the things, we've talked about it before, one of the things that will be coming up if Trump wins and Vance wins will be tariffs versus non-tariffs. And it will be a big, big issue inside the Republican Party.
Mm-hmm.
And that will go on. But Democrats really don't debate any of the issues. They really don't get into, well, what are the consequences if we do this? There really is, there's the political right, which can go into, cover a wide area.
Yeah.
But then there's the intellectual right that says, okay, what do the studies say? What does economics say? What does history say? What does reality say? How does this really work? And that's where the debate between the politics and the intellectual side, happen. You have no intellectual left right now. It does. Well, you do, but they're insane.
Uh.
The intellectual left is, as we know from academia, was anti-Semitism. We saw that at the Ivy League colleges. They're all gone, trying to figure out how do we keep anti-Semitism without having to promote it anymore. That's what I think a significant portion of these educational institutions are trying to do. We got to keep quiet. We can't let the public know what we actually think. You saw the intellectualism of the left when it was Josh Hawley talking to the Berkeley professor.
Yep.
And asking questions about, well, wait a minute, what is a woman? This is transphobic. What are you talking about? Well, you shouldn't be asking these questions. Why not? Because if you ask these questions, don't you understand that the transgender community has a way higher suicide rate? What are you saying, that because I'm asking questions, because I don't understand where you're going from, that this is going to cause somebody to commit a crime and therefore I'm immoral? I mean, that's the intellectual left, which is insane. That's crazy talk.
Everything for them is a diversion tactic.
Yeah.
Nothing is a debate.
Right. Nothing. Great point. Everything is diversion. Nothing is an honest intellectual debate on justifying what they believe. And when I got into talk radio 35 years ago, it was.
Yeah.
You would have those talks. You don't anymore.
No, it's whatever their diversion tactic of the day is, they'll use it at every turn to keep them from having to debate.
And as we said, Republicans are attempting to unite based on the issues and say, everybody come on in. We don't care who you are. If you agree with us on these issues, we want you. Democrats are still creating more victims, more oppressors. We saw it with AOC, who's now an oppressor of Democrat socialists when they've rejected her because she's not socialist enough.
Yep.
She's gaining power, and so she's becoming part of the elite. Well, wait a minute. I can get power here. Well, then I need to worry about, how I need to worry about my survival. But you can't have a party that is constantly attempting to divide, and that's what you get when you have identity politics.
Yep.
When you judge people by groups and not individuals and attempt to create more victims and therefore more oppressors, you can't unite. And so what are they uniting on? Think about this. Think about how, I'll just put it this way, poor the Democratic Party is right now. Who are they uniting around as their deity, as their savior? Think about this. Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
There are no issues involved in it except the radical issues that she has espoused and what the radical left wants. But they hated her.
Yeah.
They've hated her for the last 3.5 years. So what are they uniting on? False imagery.
Yep. They've got to make it up and keep it up until November 5th.
Yeah. But it's all false imagery.
Yep.
We hated her. Now we love her, and you should love her too.
Yep.
And we lied about the last guy. Now we're lying about her.
Right.
Because what is uniting them? I can tell you exactly what's uniting the Republican Party.
Oh, yeah.
We can go through it. Stop inflation, better economy, secure the border, stronger foreign policy, clarity in foreign policy, transparency in foreign policy, safer cities, more police. We can go down and say these are all the things that the Republican Party wants. The Democrats cannot tell the American public what they truly want. Otherwise, they know they will be rejected by the American public. Perfect example is when we mentioned Jonah Goldberg last week, the never-Trumper, who went through the Republican ad of Kamala Harris in her own words and where she stands, and he said she needs to flip-flop on everything.
Yep.
And he's in favor of her flip-flopping, which is lying about where she stands and taking a 180-degree different view on everything that she stands for in order to win. And he said everybody will accept it because it will defeat Trump. That's
Just
where
lie through your teeth.
where the Democrats
create something that isn't there. Reinvent Kamala.
Yeah, it's insane. She's a moderate. Hope I don't see that I'll be in trouble if I see that firefighter again in September who I saw in 2008. Remember the guy I told you about who said, that Obama, he's a lot more moderate than I thought.
That's who they're hoping to appeal to.
And I said, when did you start paying attention to him? Just a couple weeks ago? And he goes, yeah, about a week after the convention. Oh, yeah, because he's going to the middle now.
Yeah, and that's what they're hoping to do with her.
I don't know if they can do it now because so much of liberalism has hit the wall of reality.
The problem is that the far left, the lunacy and the radical far left, which includes her, can't do that. They're not capable of doing that. They can't get away with it.
866-90-RED-EYE.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. One of the stories you're going to see today is from the left because this is what they think. They're really not going to change. Is Al Gore endorses Harris. That's the kind of climate champion we need in the White House. That's what you're going to get. They're not going to think, and all the advice from I think the intellectually honest Democrats out there is you got to change what you believe. You cannot keep promoting this insanity. It doesn't change if you're promoting the same thing. They can't do it.
No.
Harris cannot flip-flop 180 degrees on inflation, on spending, on the border. What, you're going to throw Biden under the bus and say, I'm going to be a new type of Democrat?
Yeah, where's the middle ground for anything on the left? You can't do that. That's the problem. They're so far beyond that, coming back to the center after convention thing. There's no way to do that. It's going to be a radical convention led by radicals, and she's no different. There's no way to change that. What you're trying to do is create a unicorn. And when it comes to the issues, it's very clear. And you can't come back. They don't want to come back. They don't want to change that. They don't want to change who they are. They don't.
No, they simply believe we want to go exactly where we were going, but with someone who we believe can sell it.
Exactly.
And Biden couldn't sell it. They're not sure about Harris, but they were positive about Biden.
Right. And now we'll see if she can do it. Well, it's the radical agenda. As we said weeks ago, it's the issues right now that's hitting them. The reality is what they're dealing with.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.